Welcome back to The Explainer. So, over our past few sessions, we've built up quite a coding toolkit, haven't we? We've mastered variables, operators, conditions, and loops. But now, it's time for the big one. Today, we're tackling one of the absolute most important and, frankly, most powerful concepts in all of Python. We are talking about functions.
Here's our roadmap for today. 1. What actually are functions? 2. Function parameters. 3. A quick activity calculating volume. 4. Returning values. And 5. A mini project where we'll calculate the average of 3 numbers. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. What are functions? Let's start by talking about every coder's absolute worst enemy, doing the exact same thing over and over again.
Imagine you're building a program and you need to greet 10 different people. Are you really going to sit there and type out the exact same print statement 10 separate times? No way, right? That sounds totally exhausting.
Well, without functions, this is exactly what your program might look like. Just printing "Welcome to Python," repeated endlessly. This traditional method creates so much unnecessary repetition. And honestly, it creates a massive headache if you ever decide you want to change that greeting later on.
But check out the solution. We just create a function once. We bundle that action by defining welcome, and then we can just call it whenever we need it. The output instantly displays welcome to Python 3 times. But look at our actual code. It is beautifully clean.
Okay, so how do we actually build this logic machine? Take a look at the exact code on your screen so you can correlate the syntax with what we're doing. Step 1, we use the def keyword, which just tells Python, hey, we're defining a function. Step 2, we give it a name. Step 3, we add parentheses. Step 4, we put a colon right at the end, which basically tells Python, get ready, here comes the code. And finally, step 5, the indented code body. That indentation is absolutely critical. It tells Python that this specific piece of code lives strictly inside the function. Oh, and remember, that code won't actually run until you call the function by its name. So, why go through all this effort? Well, think of a function like a machine in a factory. You give it some work, and it performs that exact work flawlessly every single time you press the start button. Because of this, your code becomes super reusable. Your programs get way shorter, your errors drop drastically, and maintenance, it becomes an absolute breeze.
Moving on to Section 2, function parameters. Look, having a machine that does the exact same thing every time is great and all, but sometimes we need our machines to be flexible. We need them to work with different, dynamic values.
Before we look at the code, let's get our vocabulary straight. Instead of hard-coding values permanently inside a function, we can actually pass values in from the outside world. The placeholders waiting inside the function, those are called parameters. And the actual data values you send into the function, those are called arguments.
Check out the code on the screen here. We have def, greet, name. Name is our parameter. Now, when we call greet Rahul, greet Priya, and greet Sandeep, those specific names are our arguments. We're using the exact same function over and over again, but it's working dynamically with different names to give custom outputs. That right there is the true power of parameters in action. And guess what? Functions can receive multiple values too, not just one. Here we have def add numbers a, b. We can call it with 10 and 20 or 50 and 50. But there is an incredibly important rule to remember here. The values are passed in the exact same order as the parameters. So the first number always goes to A, and the second number always goes to B. Make sense?
All right, Section 3, activity, calculating volume. It's time to turn all this knowledge into action. Let's shift into the workshop and build a real-life program together.
Say we're calculating the volume of a cuboid. The math formula for that is length multiplied by width multiplied by height. Now, instead of calculating that manually every single time we need to measure a box, we just create a custom function. Calculate volume, length, width, height. We pass in the dimensions and boom, it does all the math for us. This is infinitely faster than writing out those multiplication operators again and again.
Okay, now it's your turn. I want you to actively practice this. Seriously, pause this explainer right now, open up your code editor, and try writing a function that calculates the area of a rectangle. Remember, the formula is just length multiplied by width. Go ahead, I'll wait. Welcome back. Huge congratulations if you gave that a shot. Let's calmly review the correct solution code on the screen. We define calculate area length, width, and inside, we simply multiply them together. If your code looks similar to this exact syntax and it gave you the right answer, you are absolutely crushing it.
Section 4, returning values.
We are now entering the real conceptual climax of this explainer. Up until now, we've just been printing results onto a screen. But what if we want to actually keep that answer and use it later on in our code?
The absolutely crucial point here is understanding the stark difference between print and return. Print simply displays the result immediately for our human eyes to see, but the computer essentially forgets it right after. Return, on the other hand, is a total programming superpower. It tells the function to safely send the answer back so it can actually be stored in the computer's memory.
Look closely at the code on screen. Notice the return A plus B inside the function. When we call calculate sum 10, 20, the function does the math and returns 30. Now look at the left side of that bottom line. We are catching that returned value and trapping it inside a variable named result. And because we successfully captured it, we can now use result anywhere else we want in our program.
Here's another quick example calculating a square, again using the return keyword. So to summarize this massive concept, whenever you need to store a result, reuse a result, or process a result further down the line in your program, return is exactly the tool you need to reach for.
Moving on to Section 5, Project, average of 3. All right, let's build some excitement. We are going to combine absolutely everything we've learned today into one incredibly practical mini project.
We are building a function to find the average of 3 numbers. The math formula is pretty simple. The sum of the 3 numbers divided by 3. Look at the exact syntax here. We define calculate average with 3 distinct parameters, n1, n2, and n3. We add them up safely in parentheses, divide by 3, and then, using our new superpower, we return that calculated value.
Oh, and here's a quick bonus tip. If you get a crazy long decimal when you run this, you can just wrap your function call inside Python's built-in round function. By specifying it 2, you're telling it to display exactly 2 decimal places. Look at that. You have officially built a highly useful, dynamic Python function. Give yourself a round of applause for sure. Let's do a quick chapter summary. Look at everything you've accomplished today. You created custom functions from scratch, you passed parameters to make them dynamic, you calculated real-world volume, and you mastered the vital difference between print and return. These are the exact features that will keep your code clean, organized, and totally professional as you build bigger programs. Which brings us to our final question. Now that you have the skills to build your very own reusable logic machines, what real-world problem will your first Python function solve? Think about it, get creative, and start typing. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep practicing, stay curious, and happy